It's like the posh section of, not posh, rich.
I don't like it.
No, yeah, I wouldn't live there either.
But I
I
can
don't like-
play, I can play. I have one neighbor and he's a concert pianist. He won the Chopin competition in the 1980s. So it's a really good community for my work, but they're so snobbish that they make my contractor go in through the servant's entrance.
Oh my goodness.
And
If
I'm
you
like,
want worse,
and I
if you-
say, I don't do that. I'm sorry, I don't do that. And they go, but you're in Paris. You're not in America anymore. They get mad. They're
if you
crazy.
want to push it, go to Neuilly. That's even worse.
Yeah, they're crazy. I don't like that part. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Jersey.
Hi, Jersey.
Hi, Jersey.
I don't see him yet.
Hi, Jersey.
Oh, there
Yeah,
he
we
is.
see you. We see you. Where's the cup of tea?
All right, all right. Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Hello.
Noon.
Hi, good afternoon. Whatever.
Good night. Good night.
Hello.
So Aristotle recognized, three levels of friendship. Utility, where people engage in business, kind of chat together, like you go to a hairdresser and chat a little bit and say jokes and have a good time, and you get your grooming. Then next level was the level of pleasure, and that level is like you meet some people in a bar, or you go and play basketball or golf, whatever it is, right? And then that was the second level. You have a good time. Pleasure is related to it. And then the third level, he recognized the level of good. And that is the level that goodness has to be addressed. Any engagement between people has to be deep talks and something that is important to talk about, and no entertainment at all. So that is the friendship that Aristotle looked into, and then he said that the only worth of would be living and having friends would be the friendship of good. So when you engage with others, then be sure that what's happening, and you don't confuse pleasure or engagement of kind of a in business utility that is friendship, or somebody is your friend. So what we are doing here,
I'd like to think that we're moving towards level 3.
exactly, we try, right? And sometimes we are derailed to kind of entertainment or pleasure, right? So it takes us away from pondering on good, on hard choices, that easy choices are taking us away from, and degrade us to the meaningless life that would be pleasure and utility, or engagement with whatever it is. It is needed, but it's not really important. So it is indifferent. Stoics consider that life indifferent.
Sorry, could you repeat that? Stoic consider, I missed that
Way
word.
of life, like indifferent, like they were indifferent to that, to the pleasure as well as to utility.
All right, so only level 3 as a valid.
Yeah, the
Right,
level
okay.
3 only has is worth of living, and
Thank you.
worth of friendship. All right, we're going to the poem. I have a poem for you that I wrote actually yesterday. Probably some of you read it already. Family. My family brought you from afar to pick our cotton, serve our dinners, and build our homes. They sent you to work before your wrists and ankle wounds could close. My great-great-grandfathers raped your wives and your daughters while you gazed from an open field. My great-great-grandmothers enjoyed your sons' broad shoulders and warm touch. But when you couldn't stand what your eyes saw and your ears heard, you ran. So we sent dogs and our best trappers to find the trace of your dripping sweat. I don't know how the long wounds on your back could have closed, but you stood up and went to work. Today I know it all was wrong and I want to say Black Lives Matter, but whenever I try my throat cramps and I can only sigh. I march surrounded by your great-great-grandson and great-great-granddaughters, and sometimes when I look into their eyes to see whether they know what I cannot say, they lay their hands on my shoulder even before I open my mouth. It took 400 years before we could say it, they tell me. Keep marching. One day after a white hand lay a baton on your back, blue and red flashing lights will wake your family. And after their dogs bite into your innocent skin, the privilege in your throat will soften and you will whisper, Black Lives Matter. Family. My family brought you from afar to pick our cotton, serve our dinners, and build our homes. They sent you to work before your wrists and ankle wounds could close. My great-great-grandfathers raped your wives and your daughters while you were gazed from an open field. My great-great-grandmothers enjoyed your sons' broad shoulders and warm touch. But when you couldn't stand what your eyes saw and your ears heard, you ran. So we sent the dogs and our best trappers to find the trace of your dripping sweat. I don't know how the long woods on your back could have closed, but you stood up and went to work. Today I know it all was wrong, and I want to say Black Lives Matter. But whenever I try, my throat cramps and I can only sigh. I march surrounded by your great-great-grandsons and great-great-granddaughters, and sometimes when I look into their eyes to see whether they know what I cannot say, they lay their hands on my shoulder even before I open my mouth. It took 400 years before we could say it, they tell me. Keep marching. One day after a white hand lay a baton on your back, blue and red flashing lights will wake your family, and after their dogs bite into your innocent skin, the privilege in your throat will soften, and you will whisper, Black Lives Matter.
Jersey, that's an incredible poem.
Yes, I second that.
And thank you for reading it twice. That's, we needed at least to hear it twice.
Well, it takes time, right? It takes time to say certain things. It takes time to say certain things the same way. Because when we say it, we don't mean the same way. So it will take time because before it means the same thing. We have to really feel deeply the trauma of all of it in order to match what it means on the other side. And we have to admit wrongdoing, for a long time. Without that, there's no way that we can have the same meaning of the words, even though we say it.
You know, the idea of
Wrote
living
that
in the,
poem? Oh, sorry.
oh,
I was just asking, who wrote that poem?
That's my poem.
It's your poem.
I wrote yesterday. So when if you find meaningful the poem, just let other people know.
I was going to say the whole idea of living in the moment presents an interesting dilemma and a real juxtaposition, because in many of your references, and it really is striking in today's poem, that in order to live in the moment today, we still need to understand the past. And I think sometimes we misinterpret the idea of living in the moment in that sense. And it certainly, that poem just brings everything into perspective for me. It's very meaningful, thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah, you have to have the past in your body, right? You have to embrace the whole past. That's the whole point. If you do, then all of it can live in you, and because of that, you can maybe one day say it.
Jersey, will you post that poem somewhere, or are you going to save it for publication?
It is on the site.
It's on the Facebook site.
Would you consider putting it on Instagram?
You know, I've never understood Instagram.
Uh-huh.
But you know, it's a
I'm with you.
so, you know, I've never understood a picture without words. So it's a kind of weird thing that Instagram is for me. I can make a picture out of it and put it up there. Yes.
That would be brilliant. I'm on Instagram now, and I'm like the rest of you. I'm not really strong on all this. I'm older, but my kids put me there. And a lot of the voices right now, particularly of younger people, are there. And I'd love to have them, something like that I can share. Thank you.
Let me see. It's the happy body. I have to maybe open my Instagram or mine, right?
Yeah, but it's no longer limited to photos. Now you can just put quotes, Jersey. You can put just words. They've
But
changed
it's limited the amount of words, right?
No.
No, it's not. And there are people posting short videos too. There's a lot of work from Nina Simone being reposted, and James Baldwin, and lots of.
You're confusing. Yeah, and you're confusing that with Twitter. Twitter's the one that's only got a certain amount of.
No, I'm not confusing. I know Twitter too. And
Jersey, the trick is you put a picture and then you put the poem in the comments underneath, and then everything is, appears, and there's no limit.
I'm just doing it. So I'm trying to make it happen.
I don't think we need to put pictures anymore, Sophia.
Right. It's easier though for the comment, because otherwise you need to take a picture of your poem, right?
No,
Yeah.
you can
I
just
have the picture, and then let me see if I can.
he's doing whatever.
Jersey, make sure you sign it.
Yeah.
Make sure you own it.
Right. Yeah, I think it's there already. Who knows? Let me see the. Yeah, it's there on Instagram.
I've got it. Thank you. That's wonderful.
Yeah, some people really like the poem. Some people from New York, some writers, and ask me whether they can share. So people somehow embrace the poem, embrace the whole trauma, embrace the whole poem's impossible scenario. You know, really hard choice here. We have. You know, it's a different. You know, when I was in Poland, that when we had communism, it was a little bit different because we had this outside force that required from us unconditional obedience. This unconditional obedience was also the oath for Hitler. And Hitler had this unconditional obedience. And then, but you know, when Hitler came to, when Germany came to Poland, that outside force was outside, and we saw where it was and how to fight with it, right? And of course, a lot of us died because of the fight. But you know, Russians came, and when the Red Army came in '44, then the fight became different because the force was different. So we couldn't really fight that power. The power would crush us whenever it wanted. So non-violence resistance was adapted from Gandhi, and that non-violence resistance pursued for 45 years, and then led to the freedom. But you know, that we had this outside force. So when the freedom came, we could reorganize the whole police force. So we removed all officers from the police department, and we, you know, taught new ones, and the whole police department was reinvented, completely whole. Nobody who was a communist or who was an officer before '89 could be officer in the new Poland. So we could do that, you see. We could completely reorganize. Why? Because it was a completely different world. The force was outside. Here we have the situation that we are inside, and then we have to live with it. And since we have to live with it, it is in all of us. And the only way to deal with it is to embrace this horrifying things that happen and comprehend, feel them, and then maybe we can reconcile, and then we can create, you know, the situation that when we say things, we mean the same thing. There was this interesting talk between James Baldwin and I don't remember what was it was in Harvard. The talk probably in '60s, and it was all about the meaning of whether we mean what we say in the same way. So, you know, these three words, they are rooted so deeply in America, and they come back from afar. So even say them, and you know, say them without really feeling the far away, and feeling the ships, and feeling the rape, and feeling the unconditional obedience. It cannot be reconciled. It cannot be reconciled if we really mean it. That only when we can create this togetherness. That's why James Baldwin, he said that if we don't create that, then that this other side will wreck it, and that's what we have. We constantly have this situation of violence. And we'll have it forever until, like in this poem, we'll end up with possibility of whispering these 3 words. All right. Well, anyone wants to say something before we move?
I always have to chime in something, Jersey. I love the poem, even though the content is hard to hear and to feel. I love the way you write. You create pictures with such small use of words, small amounts of words. You can create incredibly powerful images. And I'm very appreciative that this is something that it's a poem that's alive today. It's relevant today. It's not something we're looking back in time at. It's current, it's now. And I'm glad you tweeted it out. That's great. I saw it last night. Very moving.
Thank you. You know, we also need to understand that we all suffer and we all fight. And, you know, we don't have to go and march to fight. We can write a poem to fight. So, but you have to fight. But how you fight is that you find your way of fighting. There are many ways to, you know, to add yourself to the movement and fight. And you just don't have to only do that one way. So forcing people, you know, to go and march is not really only one way to fight. You fight, but you need to fight. The one thing that you need to fight, you need to find a way to stand up and to fight, whatever your mean is. If you don't have anything, then you go and march, right? Well, maybe you meditate, right? And maybe that's okay too. Whatever you know takes us closer to that possibility of saying these 3 words and mean it. And that's why, you know, we have to really see that the marching and protesting is there. All the everything else what's happening there, it's not really meaningful at all. All this looting and violence and criminals, you know, it's just, you know, it's indifferent for us. You see, that's how we need to see it. Because, you know, a very small percentage of people criminals there, you know. The most of us peacefully, non-violently resist, and we say it. And we say it by marching. And somehow is getting more that way. And somehow is more contained, and it becomes the voice becomes powerful. So what was our virtue and what we were working on? We were working on a plan, I remember. Right? My plan is, did we get into the strategy? Anybody has a plan for it?
Today we were talking about strategy of the plan that we developed.
Okay.
Yesterday.
Anybody has a plan and strategy that would like to share?
I'll try. So for me, I just think that I'm way behind. I'm still on controlling myself as a path to controlling others, to helping others to understand how they can control themselves. So my plan is to meditate daily and to write in my journal and to observe when I slip up, notice it gently, and see if I can do better tomorrow. And my strategy is to subscribe to Headspace, and participate in the Happy Body community, and share with others where I might be most vulnerable to losing control of my emotions and ask for help from others.
That's good. Great. Wow. I like that. Great. That's a really good one. Thank you. Anybody else?
I did something similar, and one of my ways too would be to write poetry, but I mean, after your poem, I don't mind so much more frivolous. But I'll share it because it's just about how I'm working with this concept of self-control, if that's all right.
The most important is not to compare yourself. You see, like comparison is always wrong. So if you compare yourself, then you're already contributing to something really possibility for easy choices and bad behavior, right?
Okay.
So it's not important. Important is what is there, and then expresses without any comparison.
Okay, I'll give it a go then. It's not very long. So I've focused on losing weight in terms of weight in all meanings of the word weight. So I've just called it losing weight. I have prescribed myself 50 milligrams of willpower 3 times a day, to get up in the morning, to go to bed at night, to behave for the rest of the day. But I have a problem with the doctor. She can't seem to produce a valid medical license or any other proper documentation. The only things hanging in her office are 4 framed sentences, 1 on each wall. I read them slowly, in turn. I am doing this for your own good. Sorry, this is a bad word. What the F is your problem? Who are you when your body shrinks? It's going to be okay. I stare at the last wall until the words soften and transpose. It is okay. It's okay. You're okay. Floor, ceiling, 4 walls, oppositional defiance, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds. People get thin near the end. Heavy girls aren't threatening. Light folks get blown away by the wind. Losing weight is the easiest thing in the world. Physiologically simple, theoretically a breeze. So I know it's hard to just...
That is wonderful, Ellen. That is beautiful.
It is, right.
It is beautiful.
Yes.
Love the 50 grams of willpower 3 times a day.
So moved. It's so moving.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Very nice.
There's just so much, so much there. Like you have to leave things out even with the poem, you know, because you can't cram everything in, but I was trying to hit the main challenges and the main obstacles for me personally, which hopefully will resonate with others too. So I suppose the strategy is to write lots of poetry until I figure it out, and for myself, and then to begin supporting others as well. And I think sharing a poem with people who like poetry or open to that kind of thing it can open a dialogue and open a conversation too, in a way that just chatting about, you know, trying to change your body isn't quite the same. So, you know, they're both good, but different.
Yeah, you painted a picture very beautifully with few words. That's the challenge with poetry, is, you know, choosing the words that create that atmosphere, you know. And once again, it's current. It's what we're, most of us, not Dick, but most of us are working on. And the emotional weight, you know, that's very key here. It's not just the physical weight.
You know, it happened a little bit at the beginning like a prayer, right? But then it turned itself into really a poem when you went into that rhythm. That was definitely started becoming something else. And really, I like it. I like the poem.
Thank you.
I think even Dick in his situation would relate very well to this, because how many people would tell someone who wants to gain weight how easy that must be, and just make light of that. So it really flips to be very much for Dick's situation as well.
Well, we're coming along, guys. We are definitely becoming friends here.
And it's all your fault.
Sorry, guys. You know, when you went on that road of goodness, there is no way back. I told you. Don't go backward.
You're gonna have to come up with weight loss or weight gain through poetry.
Well, you know, whatever it is, you see that you can contribute to the goodness, and everything adds to the wholeness until the wholeness has enough power to override the habit, the past habit, and create this possibility to embrace the good and to have energy for the hard choice and accept the hard choice. And that's when it happens, the change happens. It comes always with a hard choice. Anybody else would like to share? Keep writing poems. That's really good. You know, I had this a vision when the Happy Body Up will happen, that we'll be writing poems but we'll write the poems the way that I will be able to send a line of poetry and we'll vote, and somebody that wins the most vote, that line becomes the line of the day. And then because of that line, we'll be writing another line of poem. And then again, I know hundreds of people or thousands can send the lines, and then we look at them, and then we'll start voting on the second line. And the one that, you know, gets the most vote is going to become the second line, and we'll go to the next one. And in that way, we can, you know, make a poem, 20 lines poem that takes 20 days and written by thousands of people. How do you like that? You're quiet. I don't know if you like it or not.
I like it. My strategy was to be mindful of my own behavior and try to sort of observe that. And so thoughts, emotions, behaviors, so that I can reflect on how well I'm taking care of myself. And I think because of being the mother, you just take care of everybody. You never take care of yourself. And there's examples of women when there's not enough food, they would starve to death because they made sure the husbands and kids ate and they didn't eat themselves. So it's kind of an emotional starvation. So to be mindful of the behaviors and ensure that I'm taking good care of myself, and that's involving the self-control, so that I can better take care of those around me who depend on me. So that's my strategy.
This poem made me think about one of the poems that they wrote. Let me see if I find it. You see, that's the discussion that we have is exchange, and it becomes the discussions of something good, and it's we start reading poems, we can start talking about something that is meaningful, and then the dialogue is moving that direction, so it doesn't become shallow, and that's what Aristotle was talking about. That by being sent to somewhere else, that is extension of what we are talking about, and then brings more meaning, then we can deepen the whole situation, and it can be very interesting, and that's what he called friends, because that the friends can create this possibility for the dialogue that it's enjoyable, and it is the dialogue about something that is that we all care, but is about the goodness, and all of us, we grow because of it. So because of this doctor, the room, and the place, I've written this. Also, this poem gets me into this pledge, some kind of a pledge of how I'm going to be, and that's why I thought about this poem. Not only the doctor told his patient, "You're diabetic. Don't wait any longer. Lose weight. What about you? You're obese too." The doctor didn't say anything, but he couldn't stop thinking about it. Later, he shared the story with his colleague, who told him, "I thought you had noticed that the doctor's calling has changed. So it isn't saving lives anymore. Not only, it's even bigger. We've become medicine itself. But how can a doctor heal? He climbs the tallest mountain, but I wasn't taught that. It's not my responsibility. What is, if not, becoming healing?" Not only, the doctor told his patient, "You're diabetic. Don't wait any longer. Lose weight. What about you? You're obese too." The doctor didn't say anything, but he couldn't stop thinking about it. Later, he shared the story with his colleague, who told him, "I thought you had noticed that the doctor's calling has changed. So it isn't saving lives anymore. Not only, it's even bigger. We've become medicine itself. But how can a doctor heal? He climbs the tallest mountain, But I wasn't taught that. It's not my responsibility. What is, if not becoming healing? You see, this poem talks to whole medicine, all the medical industry, how to be a doctor. How a doctor was. They lost that. And somehow we need to go back to it. Maybe we are turning around as society. We are maybe in this work of that all the information and everything, technology and whatever we created, isolated us, divided us, and made out of the doctor a mechanic. But we are alive beings. We have feelings, we have emotions, and we need to bring it back. It is important that the doctor becomes this healing and not just information, not just knowing what pills we need. And could be that it's going to be spread to teachers and everybody else. I know, teachers, how should they teach? Yeah, we talk about that. So they need to become the knowledge, the supporting energy for the students to become independent thinkers. And that's why they are there. And maybe we are missing it. And it could be that we had it in small villages and we are missing it. We don't want to be robots. We don't want to be, to know everything and not to feel anything. You know, it's you can create a very knowledgeable person that will not feel anything. And it could be that we are missing that whole point of being together, finding friends together, and ponder on goodness. It could be that we are missing so much of it that's what's sending us on roads to protest and we don't know where it is. Maybe that's what is it, that we are missing the love. We are missing the love of a doctor that was a long time ago, the village doctor, the doctor that cared, the doctor that knew all of us, the doctor that could support all this poetry within the brain that could help us to embrace our misfortune and live with it and find sometimes the way out of it by hard choices, by embracing them.
Jerzy, I'd like to say something. Not only, no pun intended, not only did I like your poem very much, which I read last week, but your plea to the medical community on the previous page, Mastering Food Choices, page 15, was very, very powerful. Your page and a half of just saying, hey, medical community,
hey,
we need more. Now, I've been through cancer and surgery and 6 weeks of daily radiation and been through the mill, and nobody ever suggested I eat broccoli or give up Diet Pepsi or anything else. And you summarized it a whole lot better than I ever could. And if I may continue, just in one sentence here, you have writing glorious poems about how great we are is easy, but writing poems about how shameful or destructive we are is difficult. And I think that that's where you really shine.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, remember this pledge, right? Where's the pledge? To doctors? Yeah, where is it? I cannot find it. Funny.
I'm sorry, I muted out page 15 of Mastering Food Choices.
It just precedes that poem, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah. Yeah, I was looking into the mastering rest choices and didn't find it there. I was looking for it. Yes, that is in the prose somehow the telling doctors in words that we matter, right? That's the whole point, that we are asking not only for the pills, but we are asking for the doctors that they are healing by themselves, like in the poem is. That's what the Viktor Frankl was saying about the two nurses. How we do our job matters and not really what we do. And it could be that we are in the time of that we suffer isolation, that we suffer the information only, that we don't have arts enough, that arts was so ripped out of our lives so badly and so much, out of schools and everywhere else. And the focus on math and on the English and grammar and so on, or spelling, became the main way, and it's just robbed us completely from our feelings and the ability to express ourselves. We don't know how to express ourselves anymore, because 1,500 years ago we were all artists in some way. So we probably created some things. So the how was important for us. And we fought always for this how, but this age of information really crushed us. Really focus on only information, and the smarter we became, the more money we had, and that became the only way of existence. But that's completely eliminated from us our precious feelings. That's what makes us human. When you remove our feelings, you don't have human anymore. You have a robot. So we are fighting for, and that is, maybe could be for any oppression is convenience. It's convenient to deal with robots. It's not convenient to deal with people that feel, because once we feel, we don't fear anything. We know what we want to ask for, and we ask for it. So the dialogue is developed between those who rule and those who live. And if we don't feel, then there is only information, and we start trusting the information instead of trusting what is good, what is good in us. And could be that today we start really as a mass of people, we start voicing it or coming back to it and saying it is important. We need more poetry. we need more music, and we need more painting. We need to integrate artists into our society because they are voice of feelings, and we really need to engage with them. We need galleries. We need to spend time in galleries. We need to talk to painters. We need to talk to musicians more after, performances, not just to enjoy performing. We need to talk to them. We need to talk about music and stories behind the music, and on and on and on. We need to talk to poets, and more about those poems.
Jersey, this is why I encourage you to look at Instagram, which is ironic it was brought up right away, because I feel like that is the forum for public art. And that dialogue is happening. Music is being shared. Art is being shared. It is the reason why it's visual and musical and less about news is because it's an artist forum.
It's good that it's finding its way there,
Yeah.
And it's like, but it has to be bigger, everywhere. I mean, in our life, in schools, in villages, like we have to be attracted to it. Find attraction to it. To attracted to galleries, go to galleries where the paintings are and have tea there. We need really art. We really need art. It's the same as we need the philosophy. We need art. We are suffocated from knowledge. Suffocating. We are suffocating from knowledge. Enough of that knowledge. Enough of that. We need the arts and we need philosophy. We need both of them. And spirituality. We're completely out of balance. Completely out of balance. We need to sit in a gallery, not in a bar drinking vodka and so on. That's okay. But we need to sit in a gallery drinking tea and look at the paintings and talk about paintings. We need a poet there to read poems and talk to us. We need really to, live engage with these people. Why they are artists anyway, right? And somehow we are completely missing them. It's like they're hanging there somewhere in the world. And, they create arts and they know why, what happens to them, but they are completely isolated. They are not really, we don't engage with them. We don't. So what happens to us? What's going on? What's going on with the way we live life? We lost it. And maybe that is the movement today that's trying to find out that too, not only in America, everywhere. We try to find our feelings back. And what matters to us, really. Feel like we matter like a human being. How we can feel it, right? If we engage with artists and philosophers, and it is the Aristotle what is said, the friendship of good. That is, maybe we'll find it back. And we can make it maybe today big. We can make it really meaningful and possible. The bookstores were somehow this attraction, the books were these attractions, and galleries were attractions a little bit. We didn't develop enough the exchange between those that wrote, between those who painted, It's just somehow we have this huge gap between the artists and the people. I mean, there are, thousands of poets here around. It's just not only, those who are published and so on. but somehow we don't have this dialogue. We don't have a dialogue. We have these galleries and, and millions of dollars for the painting, and then we don't have, interactions with painters, and we just don't have it. But we need it. Because, during the process of friendship of good, we can grow up, we can grow and develop this inside more and more goodness. Artists can help us to find our way back. But we need to we need to somehow get it, the message. We need to go to galleries and tell, galleries owners how we want to have it. We want tables there. We want to have tea, gently tea, like Zen, just tea, like a little bit table. So we are there. So we have this atmosphere, this ambience of caring and goodness and feelings. We need to really talk to artists. We need to really embrace them, bring them back, bring poets, bring those bookstores back. And so, we lost bookstores. That was cafes, right, where poets read. We lost them. And we need to find them. We need to find them in schools too. We need to find back the arts in school and strong. Not only the art, visual art, but poetry. We need to find the poetry. Why the poetry is not in schools and as one of the main arts. We only have visual arts, a little bit music, and that's it. And we really don't get it. We think that poetry is just luxury of rich women or something, right? It's like completely dismissed as a extremely hard art. I mean, really, you have to be so tough to be a poet. So tough to create, meaningful music. You got to be so tough, because this music, like Gorecki's Third Symphony, it's not coming from glory and fantasies. It's coming from extreme pain. Potato Eaters didn't happen because, somebody who was a painter really loved flowers.
So just a little anecdote, it reflects what we've been talking about, but in our lives, we were the protesters back when. And in Canada, it's the Aboriginal people who have been marginalized and basically live in third world conditions. And both my husband and I were artists. He did sculpting and I was making pottery, and we lived very frugally. We built a little house out of an old barn and had no running water and did all of that stuff. And then one day, we were both activists and he was much more involved. I helped with the children. He said, I have to go to law school. He was 39 years old. He said, in order to really help people, to make a difference, I have to join the establishment. I have to become a lawyer, which he did. And he worked for the Inuit people for 25 years or 23 years. And, they never really, the people themselves did not know what he was doing for them, but he did make a significant contribution to that. So the artists and the poets and maybe others are doing other things to make a difference, you know, that need to be done in
Yeah.
some cases, you know. And I mean, it's very unusual, Jersey, for an Olympic weightlifting champion to be a poet. But, you know, you can see today how significant that is, that you can reach out to so many people through mass media and Twitter to everyday people, not just an elite group who have time to read poetry. It's reaching out to many, many people as we are talking today, right now. And the words are very powerful. And, you know, so there's different ways to make a difference and make a contribution. And I think that a lot of people just, you know, my contribution was taking care of everything so my husband could do the big work. But, you know, I'm an artist, so the world is hard. It's a hard, harsh world. And my difference is making something beautiful to contribute in some way to offset that, to create more of a balance, I think.
Yeah, I understand your husband, because, you know, the laws are important, and, you know, the laws created no arts in schools, right? So, you know, the laws, you know, raped us by that. They just took the arts, they, you know, they deleted, you know, the arts out of our brain. That's a horrible thing when, you know, the country without arts in schools. So, but it's done by laws, right? There's no money or something. There's always a reason how to get rid of artists and get rid of art. So I understand your husband, that he became sometimes powerless, you know, one day, and decided, okay, I will become a lawyer and I will help, you know, through that way. Yeah, I told you to watch Just Mercy, the movie, right? Did you watch it? So you remember, Frank, that if somebody says watch the movie, you better watch, because I will go back, I will move around, right? And suddenly one day I will talk and you will not be able to participate. You will not be able to have a dialogue. And that is, you know, you will get stuck in not be able to, you know, to digress and move. Just Mercy.
Jersey, I have a question for you. Like, how do you ever find the time to watch all these movies? You must have a system.
You know, you know, I do my happy party and I watch movie.
Well, you're much more evolved than me, because when I'm doing happy body, that's all I can do. I could barely do, you know, breathe. I just do that.
So you know, now you can a little bit, when you integrate the whole thing, it becomes, you know, organic, and you can watch a movie and you can do the happy body.
Jersey, so much for mindfulness. Got you.
So if you really watch something that is like Just Mercy, then, you know, or Harriet, right? Then the all has sense, because, yeah, it's all mindful, right? It's all good, you know, the goodness drives everything. So it is not fighting each other.
And whatever works for you, we all have our systems, right?
Yeah, well, it is all about how you put this together so you can watch this movie, let's say, right? So, I guess, you know, it depends what kind of movies you would watch, so that matters. And at the beginning, you know, you need to be mindful at what you do, and it is created to release stress and so on. But I don't have stress, you see. I'm completely stressless. I don't know what anxiety is. I don't know what stress is. I don't know what the fear is. I lost it completely in my life. So I don't have it. So when I do my happy body, then I can watch a movie. And the movie doesn't create any stress in me either. It can only create love in me. That's it. You know. So when I watch Harriet or, you know, Just Mercy or, you know, Midway, even like, you know, war movies, but, you know, with the characters that they are so noble, and then I see love there. That's what I see. I see this, you know, this nobility and this integrity. And how better I could spend time. Now, what else I could do, right? If I don't write my poem, if I do the happy body, that's beautiful, right? I care for my body and I'm doing it, and I watch a movie. I'm Not Your Negro. You watch that movie? What a movie, wow. You know, it's like a long poem. The words are so moving. I mean, so moving. You know, I don't remember when I watched another, it's a documentary, but, you know, I don't remember when I heard the language, so powerful language as I'm Not Your Negro. James Baldwin telling the story, and it's just like, wow. You can watch over and over that thing, and you will not have enough. It's almost like, you know, like you would hear Thich Nhat Hanh and his words, and you would never have enough somehow. They create this this constant goodness in you. Well, my time for tea for me.
So now we're charged with having a meaningful discussion.
Well, it's certainly not going to be about all these movies that I haven't been able to watch. So.
You're not the only one. Oh, God.
Because we're all so busy lifting, right?
But so what does his happy body last an hour and a half? I thought it was supposed to last a half an hour.
I'm sure there's a much bigger workout.
I can never manage making it last half hour. It's always an hour doing half of the stuff, which I'm happy enough.
As long as it makes you happy.
I'm down to 42 minutes.
Oh,
wow.
So you know what helped me a lot was that whole metronome thing. I should post all that stuff for you guys on the, because it keeps you just having the rhythm keeps you pretty much close to the half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I timed it all, and then I also gave time for pause. It's not like I'm going crazy, but I should just post it and then you guys use it if you want. It helped me, and I have done this, you know, off and on for 4 years. I was never down this until I put the metronome on.
And
I like that round timer. That round timer has been helping me.
Yeah.
I love the 15-second one. You know, really the slow pace of really kind of feeling every move. That's been really good.
Yeah, anything that has a structure of time is going to help.
Yeah.
Because we all kind of space out, and I don't know, start doing other things or take too long or too short. I just found myself really needing that structure
Yeah,
to try to meet the goal anyway.
I'm a bit of a dawdler, so I was spending like over an hour doing everything really slowly, and then I got the timer, and now get it all done. Very good.
Yeah, it's surprising how quickly it goes by.
So I don't go onto Twitter at all, or any
No,
of,
it's not Twitter, it's Instagram.
yeah, I never do any of that, but I can see, you know, I watch a little bit of the news at night. My husband's in the news now, so he's on it, you know, for hours. He's taped all the shows and he's watching everything and goes online, does this whole review of the day. But, you know, I could just sense that things are happening out there, you know, that something is, you know, it's moving around the world, that there's some consciousness of change that I'm getting a vibe for. I hope I'm right.
I think we
Too,
experienced it.
Deborah.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I was going to say, I hope you're right too. I worry that these moments get some momentum, and then there's something else that diverts the attention and energy, and it just dissipates, it just goes away.
I was
I think
reading,
we were on. Oh, sorry, Sandra. Go ahead.
I was reading an interesting article today. I forget the guy's name. I'll try to look it up. And he was talking about addressing why this has taken root so deeply and so quickly amongst all these diverse populations coming together. And he was pointing to the pandemic as in part a cause, because what he said was, first of all, we've learned a new intimacy. We'd already learned a new intimacy on these kinds of like Zooms and all these chats, you know, on this online presence. So our communications were a little more human, but also that the diversions are gone. People aren't going out. People aren't doing a lot of many other things, and they spent more time in the space absorbing the information. It was an interesting article. It was a perspective I hadn't thought of. I thought it was interesting.
I think
I think we saw the same. Sorry, Deborah.
Okay, your turn, Dick.
Yeah. Okay. I think we saw the same raise of awareness just before the pandemic with the environmental movement and the kids going out on, you know, school strike and being very, very serious about doing that. And the young Swedish girl that was traveling around the world speaking
Greta.
out. Yeah.
Greta.
Yeah, Greta. Yeah. And I don't know. I hope that between the pandemic and the current issues and the environmental movement beforehand, maybe it's part of gaining the momentum. I don't know. I'm optimistic that it might be, until the other shoe drops from somebody in senior government, whether it's in you know, North Korea or other places, you know, that is going to be another distraction for us. So, but I agree. I'm hopeful that these things are going to compound and eventually lead to positive change.
I think it's
Thanks.
important to remember you know, these movements started about 2 years ago. I'm thinking of the assassination of the woman in Brazil. What's her name, for example? And this is nothing new, and it's important not to look at it from a U.S. point of view only.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know, because it's easy to just assume that the U.S. is in a revolution right now and it's going to trickle down to the world. No, this is something that's been starting for years, and every country's got their own pace. So it's good to read something else as well, a little bit, or not read it all for a couple of days if you need to. But just my contribution.
Elian, are you a professional pianist? Maybe she's not there.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, hi. Are you a professional pianist?
Yes.
Oh, have you played your whole life?
Yep, since 5 years old.
Oh, no kidding. Oh.
My sister too. It's in the family.
Oh, is that right? Oh.
Mhm.
Oh, I just started my lessons 5 years ago, and
Oh my goodness.
I work
You're
my
brave.
Yeah, I sure am. Yeah, my grandchildren are surpassing me after spending much less time at it.
Yeah,
You
don't
have a
watch
good,
Eliane on YouTube.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
have
you'll
you
be
got a good
depressed.
teacher, Ed?
I'm sorry?
You need a
Do I-
good teacher.
I,
Oh,
You have a
do
good,
you?
I do. I have a tough taskmaster. He's almost 80, classically trained. So I do my hand exercises every day and get quizzed on the relative minor of F major and everything else. And he's very good. He's never heard of Neil Young or Paul McCartney,
right.
so I'm a little sorry about that.
And so where do you live? I'm sorry, I don't know where you live.
I'm in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm a New Yorker initially, but I've lived in Virginia for about 20 years.
and so he's a pianist and a teacher, or mostly a teacher?
Yeah, he's mostly a teacher. Yes.
Yeah,
When
it's
he
a
was,
special.
yeah. You wouldn't know him. He's just a real small time guy in a small town of Norfolk, Virginia.
I'm glad you found a good teacher. It's hard when you're starting piano later. You have to
Yes.
find a guide. You really do.
And he prefers adults.
Wow. He has the patience.
Excuse me? Oh, really? Oh.
Well, yeah, because you, as an adult, you have a sophisticated ear and you have higher expectations. It's really hard to check your ego at the door because you know how to drive your car and do your taxes, and then suddenly you've heard music all your life and you want to sound that way, and it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, and I'm tired of hearing this whole micro progression that I'm learning about is really helping, because I'm tired of hearing about people that can play by ear and learn how to master the piano in a half hour and everything else. Where I'll take a week on a couple of measures.
Yeah.
And with my metronome, as you know so well.
My teacher in college was a descendant directly from Beethoven. And
Wow.
he spent 1 hour on one measure of Beethoven in front of everybody, in front of the whole fucking master class. So it was 1 hour on one measure.
On one measure.
On one measure in front of the whole class of great pianists.
Where
Yeah.
did you go to college, Eliane?
I'm sorry?
Where was this, your college?
That was my college teacher at New England Conservatory in Boston.
Wow.
And later I found my mentor and I followed him for many years. But yeah, so that particular line goes straight back to Beethoven. Yeah, it's all about microprogression. That's all it is in study of an instrument like that.
I'm back. You know, somebody one day told me, maybe it is harder to lift a poem than to lift a world record in weightlifting. So I heard today that, who would, think about that the world champion would become a poet, as if poetry is a lot of easier to do, right? But,
I didn't mean it that way, Jersey, at all.
yeah, I understand. But it's like, but sometimes we think like poetry is a kind of a luxury thing to do in life, like only wives do it, some kind of, like that's what the society start projecting. Oh, a poet, and they make a laughter about that. So I remember that in Groundhog Day that she says that she studied French poetry, and he laughs and says, "What a waste of time!" And then he catches himself because she looks at him in a certain way. So then, comes back the next day. The next day repeats, and he goes to that time, right? And then she says, "I studied French poetry." And he recites the poem in French and pretends to be this person that and cares for the French poetry, but he didn't care for the French poetry. That's what the point is in life. He wanted just to get her. So it's like it's just the same in this poem about these 3 words, that we can become that way. Like he wanted to get the girl, so he read the French poetry and became that. So he wanted to outsmart the lie. So Martin Luther King, right? Lifting really heavy words, right? And all poets in a way, right? James Baldwin's that documentary, it's a long poem. Yeah, to say something that is extremely painful is a very hard to lift. Did I read you the poem, Mary Howe's poem about her sister, Apology to Her Sister? Did I read you that poem?
You read it.
I read it, right?
Yes.
It took her whole life and courage to immense integrity and to write this poem. You know, she raised above whatever she ever was to be able to write that poem. Poets, yeah, it's like, you know, painting, you know, potato eaters. Wow. Wow, what it took, right, from Van Gogh to be able to see it and paint it. That is the hard lifting. That's the heavy lifting. I have a dream. Wow, what it took to really get there, to get there to these words. That's heavy lifting. So it looked like, you know, for me it was through the knowledge and engineering to the freedom fighting, you know, Olympic weightlifting and poetry, and I'm here today. Heavy lifting all the way through. Otherwise, why to live? Okay. Anybody wants to say something before we close?
Yes, Jerzy, it's Marcin. I just wanted to say thank you to you because I've been trying to help a friend of mine who I'm very close with, who's actually a painter and an artist. And he's been very depressed. And I didn't know how to reach him. And now for a few weeks, I've found a way through the Happy Body. So I've started teaching him the Happy Body exercises. And it's given him structure. And slowly, like the hinge, the rusty hinge, we're beginning to get progress.
That's good.
In the sense of more, and physically he's let himself go, and he's been blocked from doing his art. He's an accomplished painter, and he's also a professor at the Academy of Art in Warsaw, or was, and he's just been cut off from his feelings. And the Happy Body is really helping him. So I can see he's got more range of movement. He's getting feelings back in his arm, in his hand, and it's a miracle. It's working. And in fact, his address, he lives next to the church of Stanisława Kostki. We look through the balcony at the church. So it's all very sort of, it comes around full circle. So thank you, Jerzy.
Oh, you're welcome. There's a huge gap between the artists and people. And that gap can be why artists, lose it sometimes. And they go into depression. Look at the Van Gogh, his art. He was ahead with his art. So people would not appreciate his art, right? What created in him is that is doubt in him that that he is maybe not a good painter, right? But he was just simply ahead of time, which means that he didn't create. It was the language between people and him was not created. That's why I was talking about to develop this language, between freedom fighters and people, or artists and people. With Solidarity created this incredible language between people and Solidarity. The language was created, and when the language was created, it was so powerful because it touched everyone almost the same way. So sometimes, we create, we are artists, and then we are not appreciated. Somehow the art is not really what. It's hard for artists to survive, and it looks like the whole society doesn't appreciate the art. That we don't go and find them, and then we don't listen to them, we don't engage with them, we don't buy their arts and so on. We don't buy the book of poetry. We buy all the books around, but the poetry books we are not buying, right? We are buying the books about information, about the meaningless things, but we don't buy poetry books. So it's something is really completely wrong with us, with all of us. It's a disaster. It's a disaster on all humanity. It's a disaster, complete disaster. And in order to come back, is maybe that's what people start really talking about and feeling. Maybe they still feel on the unconscious level that something is off, and start really communicating. But for us, it's important when you actually get the message to seek the artists, seek artists around, seek them, help them, like you are doing that. Embrace them, help them, and develop the language, narrow the gap between the art and you and others. And that's probably only the way to return to the art. We need to return to the artists, because they are there, they create the art. And like I wrote a poem, and it's there, right? So whether the poem is read or not, really, it is up to people. So you know now the poem, and then whatever you do with it, you do with it. So it is my work ended. That's what I want to say. It's the artist ended the work, and that's how the artists are. They go to another piece of art, and they go to another piece of art. But it is important to find them and start developing the language between the gap, narrow the gap of understanding what are they actually doing and why they are doing whatever they are doing. Why is it so important for them to create this art? Why is it, so important that they don't care that they are living in poverty? Why? Right? So many artists, create such a really incredible arts, like musicians, a lot of musicians suffer because of the poverty, painters. And, you know, even today, it's just really hard for them somehow to live life. And, you know, we have so many musicians, you know, they don't have to be great, right? But it's good to have music around. Or it's good to have painters around. They don't have to be great, but they are painters or poets. And they somehow, for them, they got attracted to this art. And we need to bridge that between them and ourselves to build the bridge. Why is it so important? And then, you know, to have this dialogue together, to have this friendship of goodness together. That's what's about. And if we don't step on and actually do that, then, well, of course, you know, we'll have the old world. Martin, we are talking anyway, right? After. So at 2 o'clock.
At 2 o'clock, okay.
Right. So I have everything ready.
Okay, fantastic, great.
All right. Before we close, you know, thank you for. It's like you see how important is what you said, because what you said, it takes us to a different place and different place and different place because it's meaningful. What you do is meaningful. And it's important, not only meaningful, it's important to go and find that, you know, help that artist. I like the sessions. I think it's something going on with us, you know. It's good. I think it's good that, you know, we are creating this goodness together and it's happening to us. It's good.
I know for sure I feel it.
I was going to say Aristotle would be so proud.
Yeah, I think so. You know, like, it makes me feel really good that, you know, somebody there, you know, 2,500 years ago would be proud of us, right? That would be just wow. You know, even such a thing, you know, it could be enough to live your life, right? All right. Anybody else before we close?
Yeah, Jersey, this isn't about the discussion today, but I guess every time I open my mouth, I cause problems. It looks like the last couple of lines of your poem are not posted. They're cut off on the Instagram. I thought you would want to know.
Really?
So, yeah.
Hold on. You have to click, push on it, I think. It opened the poem, open after.
It didn't come to my...
Really? I am there. So let me see. Yeah, I don't understand why, right? So let me delete that first.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And,
Well, bye everyone. I'm gonna
let's
sign.
get back to that. All right, I have the whole thing. I don't know how to. I have the picture, right? So. Okay. So if I post it, let me see on Instagram. Okay. Yeah, now it's there, right?
What Instagram is it? Is it the Happy Buddy or yours?
The Happy
Or-
Buddy. Because
Be
I
ready.
already click on it in my Instagram and it shows the whole poem. I don't know why it showed before the only half of it. Can you check it?
Trying to.
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
Yeah, okay.
No, it goes up to white hand, one day after a white hand, and stops.
Hmm.
You got so much more words on Into the Cave. It doesn't, I don't understand.
Yeah, you're right. Well, so why is it happening? Tell me.
No,
Hmm?
no clue.
Okay, so I do something wrong with posting it, I guess, right? So let me see if I can post from Instagram when I am there. Okay, if I am there, I want to post something. Add something, right? If I add. Okay.
Also, write your name. Make sure you, well, I mean, not copyright, but mention your name. And the title was cut off, I think, as well.
It's better not. It's better for people than when they don't know who wrote it sometimes.
But then they share it and then it gets used, you know.
Yeah, that's okay. But you know, if they know who wrote it, they don't like it sometimes. So it's better, you know.
All right.
It's better to let me see. Okay. No. Holy moly. Okay. Photo, okay. Library, no. You see it, I am not really good at that, right? So, how will you post it on Instagram? First of all, if you have a picture, right? So you are in Instagram, what do you do?
You hit plus, that plus sign.
Plus. All right, you have the plus, and then where do you go?
Then usually you take a picture from your gallery, but you're not trying to post a picture, are you? Or
But
is
I have a picture in the photo, right? So I
Yeah.
go to library, right?
Right,
So
a gallery.
takes me to, let me see. I have to look into my library, which poem, which the last one was it? Okay. Come back to. Sorry, guys. All right. Back library. Okay. Is this one? Okay, thanks. Thanks. Sure. Okay. What do we have now? The same story? The same story, right?
I have less even.
Yeah. It's funny.
Maybe there is a length limit. Maybe when you have time, maybe try taking the spaces out and see if that gets the whole thing in there. I honestly don't know what the issue is.
Well, yeah, you're right. So when I have like Into the Cave, yeah, and it's there. So
You just need 2 pictures maybe to split it in half, and you know how to upload 2 pictures when you hit on the little slide looking thing?
could be. So let me deal with it a little bit later. Look for it, and then I will figure this out, and then you can start sharing.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for
Thank you.
that, because it was good. It was not really a trouble. Actually, it's very helpful because I didn't really notice that, right?
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you for today. So it was a wonderful day.
Thanks, Jersey. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Lillian.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye. So see you in 10 minutes, yeah?
Right. Yeah, maybe I will figure out this thing, right?
Okay, so okay, so we call each other in 10 minutes, yeah?
Yeah.